Hello there, and welcome to Sleepy Wisdom Channel. Tonight, we'll be drifting into the gentle currents of Taoism, that ancient Chinese philosophy that sees wisdom in water, strength in softness, and the deepest truth in what cannot be named. These teachings emerged over 2,000 years ago, not from argument or analysis, but from quiet observation of how nature actually works. How rivers find their way without maps, how trees grow without forcing, how the universe unfolds without effort or complaint. People return to Taoism when life feels too complicated, when trying harder only makes things worse, when they need to remember that the most powerful approach is often the gentlest one. The Tao, the way, the path, asks nothing of you except that you notice what is already flowing, that you stop pushing against the current, that you become like water, soft and yielding, yet capable of wearing down the hardest stone. Some teachings will feel like poetry, others like paradox. All of them point towards something that cannot quite be captured in words. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. Yet we speak anyway, using words as fingers pointing at the moon, knowing you should not mistake the finger for what it indicates. In this video, we'll explore effortless action, natural balance, and the wisdom of yielding, not as things to achieve, but as invitations to stop trying so hard and let life flow through you. If you enjoy these gentle journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or share a thought below. It helps others find their way here too, one weary soul at a time, seeking rest in the natural way. But for now, there's nothing you need to do but relax. Let your body become heavy like earth settling. Let your breath flow like wind through leaves. Allow your mind to empty like a valley that receives all streams without effort. There is nowhere to arrive because you are already here. Nothing to become because you already are. Let's begin. The ancient Taoists looked at nature and saw everything they needed to know about how to live. Not nature as something separate, to be conquered or controlled, but nature as the ultimate teacher, showing the way things actually work when nothing interferes. Water became their supreme example. It does not fight, it does not insist, yet nothing is more powerful. It flows effortlessly to the lowest places, the places no one else wants, and from there, it nourishes everything. This is where we begin. With water's wisdom, with the art of yielding, with the profound power of not forcing. The Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. This is how the Tao Te Ching begins, with a warning about words. The deepest truth cannot be captured in language. The moment you name something, you limit it. You freeze what flows. You grasp what should remain open. The Tao is the unnamed source of everything, the mystery that precedes all categories, the silence before speech. You cannot define it without betraying it. You cannot explain it without reducing it. This is not a failure of language. It is the nature of reality. Some things are too vast for concepts, too immediate for thought, too simple for complexity to reach. The Taoists were comfortable with this. They did not need to understand everything. They did not need to name what moves beneath all names. They simply pointed. They gestured. They used poetry and paradox to indicate what lies beyond the reach of precise definition, and they were at peace with mystery, with unknowing, with the recognition that the most important things cannot be said, only experienced. Water is the supreme teacher. Lao Tzu, the legendary author of the Tao Te Ching, returned again and again to water as the perfect example of Taoist wisdom. Look at how water behaves. It is soft. You can put your hand through it. It has no fixed shape. It conforms to whatever contains it. Yet given time, water wears away stone. It carves canyons. It shapes coastlines. The softest substance overcomes the hardest through patience and persistence, not through force. Water also flows naturally to the lowest places. It does not compete for the heights. It does not seek the mountaintop. It settles in the valleys, the places that receive rather than dominate. And from those low places it nourishes all things. Plants drink from it. Animals depend on it. Entire ecosystems exist because water flows downward, without pride or ambition. This is the Taoist ideal. Seek the low place. Be humble. Be receptive. And from that position you become essential to everything around you. Wu Wei means effortless action. This is perhaps the most misunderstood concept in Taoism. Wu Wei does not mean doing nothing. It does not mean passivity or laziness. It means acting in harmony with the natural flow of things. It means not forcing, not straining, not imposing your will on situations that have their own rhythm. It is the difference between swimming downstream and swimming upstream. Both involve movement. One exhausts you, the other carries you. Think of a skilled craftsman. After years of practice, their hands move without conscious effort. They are not trying to be skillful. They are not forcing technique. The skill flows through them naturally. This is Wu Wei. Trying without straining. Doing without forcing. Acting from a place so aligned with the situation that it does not feel like effort. The Taoists saw this everywhere in nature. Seeds grow without trying to grow. Your heart beats without you commanding it. The universe expands without deciding to expand. Wu Wei is the art of participating in this natural unfolding without adding unnecessary resistance. The Tao does nothing, yet leaves nothing undone. This paradox captures the essence of Wu Wei. Nature accomplishes everything through non-forcing. Planets orbit without effort. Seasons change without trying. Ecosystems balance themselves without management. Everything that needs to happen happens, not through willpower or control, but through natural processes following their inherent patterns. The Tao, the way of nature, does not intervene. It does not micromanage. Yet everything unfolds perfectly. Humans are the exception. We think we need to force things. We believe progress requires struggle. We assume that if we are not pushing, nothing will happen. But this is not how nature works, and we are not separate from nature. When you align yourself with the Tao, with the natural way things want to unfold, you discover that much of your effort was unnecessary. Much of your striving was actually creating obstacles. You can relax, you can trust, you can let the current carry you, and you will arrive exactly where you need to be. Yielding overcomes the rigid. In a storm, the oak tree stands firm and strong. It resists the wind. it refuses to bend, and sometimes under enough force, it breaks. The bamboo, meanwhile, bends almost to the ground. It yields completely to the wind. It offers no resistance, and when the storm passes, it springs back, undamaged. This is the Taoist teaching about strength. True strength is not rigidity. It is flexibility, the ability to yield without breaking. This applies to everything. Rigid opinions break when they meet contrary evidence. Rigid plans shatter when circumstances change. Rigid identities crack under pressure. But flexibility survives. Adaptation persists. The willow branch bends under snow and does not snap. The reed bows to the current and is not uprooted. Yielding is not weakness. It is the deepest wisdom. It is understanding that sometimes the most powerful response is to offer no resistance at all, to let force pass through you, to bend and return, empty yourself to be filled. A cup that is already full cannot receive anything. You must pour it out before new tea can enter. This is a fundamental Taoist insight. Emptiness is not lack, it is capacity. The usefulness of a room exists because of the empty space, not because of the walls. The value of a wheel depends on the empty hub at its center. The potential of a bowl lies in its hollowness. Without emptiness, nothing functions. This applies to your mind and life as well. If you are full of opinions, you cannot learn. If your schedule is completely packed, you cannot respond to what emerges. If your mind is cluttered with thoughts, you cannot hear the subtle guidance that arises from silence. Emptying yourself does not diminish you. It creates space for something new to enter. It makes room for life to fill you in ways you could not have planned or predicted. The Taoists cultivated emptiness. They let go. They released. They made themselves into vessels that could receive the gifts the universe offers to those who are empty enough to hold them. The softest thing overcomes the hardest. Water seems weak. You can hold it in your cupped hands. It has no edges, no solidity, no ability to resist. Yet over time, water cuts through solid rock. Waves shape coastlines. Rivers carve canyons thousands of feet deep. The soft overcomes the hard through one quality: persistence. Water does not attack the stone. It does not declare war. It simply flows, again and again, year after year, century after century. And eventually, the stone yields. This teaching invites patience. It suggests that gentleness, sustained over time, is more powerful than force. You do not need to be hard to be effective. You do not need to be aggressive to create change. You can be soft, yielding, patient. And if you persist, if you keep flowing, if you do not give up, you will wear away obstacles that seemed immovable. The hardest thing in your life right now, the problem that feels like stone, can be shaped by your gentle, persistent attention. Not through fighting, through flowing. Follow the way of least resistance. Rivers do not flow in straight lines. They meander, they curve. They find the path of least resistance, flowing around obstacles rather than through them. This is not laziness, it is efficiency. Nature does not waste energy. It does not fight when it can flow. It does not resist when it can yield. And somehow, the river always reaches the ocean, always completes its journey, not by forcing a direct path, but by following the easiest route available in each moment. Humans create unnecessary struggle by insisting on straight lines, by demanding that things happen in a specific way, by refusing to adapt when circumstances suggest a different route. The Taoist approach is different. Feel where the energy wants to go. Notice which doors open easily and which require battering rams. Follow the path that feels natural, even if it is not the path you planned. Trust that the way of least resistance is not avoidance. It is wisdom. It is working with reality rather than against it. And it will get you where you need to go with far less exhaustion. Be like the valley. Mountains are impressive. They dominate the landscape. They reach toward the sky. Everyone notices them. But the valley, the low place, is where life gathers. All the streams flow into the valley. All the rainwater collects there. The valley receives everything. And because it receives, it becomes the source of nourishment. Plants grow in the valley. Animals gather there. Life concentrates in the low places, not the high ones. The Tao Te Ching repeatedly praises the valley, the feminine, the receptive, the low. This is radical in a world that values dominance and height. But the Taoists understood that receiving is as powerful as acting. Listening is as important as speaking. Being humble enough to occupy the low place means you become the one everyone turns to, not through force or assertion, but through receptivity, through being the space that welcomes all things. The valley does not compete with the mountain. It simply receives what the mountain cannot hold. The Tao is found in ordinary things. You do not need to go to a temple to find the Tao. You do not need to meditate for years or study ancient texts. The Tao is here, in the kitchen while you cook, on the street as you walk, in your breath as you inhale and exhale. The sacred is not separate from the mundane. It is the mundane, seen clearly. A cabbage chopped with full attention is a spiritual practice. Washing dishes can be meditation. Sweeping the floor can be prayer. The Taoists rejected the idea that some things are spiritual and others are not. Everything is an expression of the Tao. Every moment is an opportunity to align with the natural way. You do not need special circumstances or elevated states. You just need to be present, to notice, to participate fully in whatever you are doing, no matter how ordinary it seems. The Tao is not hiding in some distant realm. It is right here, in the texture of this moment, waiting to be recognized. Nature does not hurry, yet everything gets done. Have you ever seen a tree rushing to grow? Have you watched a flower frantically blooming? Nature moves at its own pace. Seeds germinate in their own time. Fruit ripens when it is ready. Seasons unfold according to rhythms that cannot be hurried. And yet, nothing is late. Everything arrives exactly when it should. The universe is not behind schedule. It is not scrambling to catch up. It is simply being, and in that being, everything that needs to happen happens. Humans are the only creatures who rush, who believe they are behind, who think they should be further along than they are. This creates enormous suffering, the anxiety of hurry, the stress of feeling late. But what if you are not behind? What if you are exactly where you need to be? What if you could trust the timing of your life the way a seed trusts the timing of spring? You would relax. You would stop forcing. You would let things unfold at their natural pace. And paradoxically, you would accomplish more, because you would not be wasting energy fighting against the rhythm of reality. The wise person acts without attachment to results. The Taoist sage does their work without clinging to outcomes. They plant seeds but do not demand the harvest. They offer help but do not require gratitude. They create but do not need recognition. This is freedom. When you act without attachment to results, you can give everything to the process. You can be fully present. You are not distracted by fantasies of success or fears of failure. You are simply here, doing what is yours to do. This does not mean you do not care. It means you care about what you can control: your effort, your attention, your integrity, and release what you cannot control, which is how things turn out. You do your best and let go, like a farmer who plants carefully, tends diligently, and then accepts whatever the weather brings. The farmer is not passive. The farmer is deeply engaged. But the farmer knows that growth belongs to nature, not to human will. You can participate. You cannot control. Knowing the difference brings peace. Stillness reveals truth. When water is agitated, it is cloudy. You cannot see through it. But when water becomes still, the sediment settles. The water clears. You can see all the way to the bottom. Your mind works the same way. When agitated by constant thought, by worry, by planning, by replaying the past, you cannot see clearly. But when your mind becomes still, truth reveals itself. Not truth that you think your way to, but truth that emerges from silence. The Taoists practiced stillness, not as an end in itself, but as a way of allowing clarity to arise. In stillness, you hear the quiet voice of intuition. You sense what is actually happening beneath the surface noise. You feel the current of the Tao guiding you. Stillness is not inactivity. It is receptivity. It is creating space for wisdom to speak. And that wisdom is always there, always available, waiting for the moment when you become quiet enough to hear it. The Tao nourishes all things. The sun shines on everyone equally. It does not choose who deserves light. Rain falls on the just and the unjust alike. Nature does not discriminate. It does not favor. It does not withhold its gifts from those it judges unworthy. The Tao nourishes all things without exception, without condition, without asking anything in return. This is the model for compassion. This is how the sage loves, not selectively, not only those who earn it, but universally. The way the sun loves. The way rain loves. You do not have to like everyone to treat them with basic kindness. You do not have to approve of someone's choices to wish them well. The Tao does not require perfection before offering support. It simply nourishes. And when you align with the Tao, you become like this. Your compassion flows naturally, not because people deserve it, but because it is your nature to care. Like the sun cannot help but shine. Less is more. The Tao Te Ching teaches again and again about the power of reduction, of stripping away, of simplifying. More possessions mean more to maintain, more to worry about, more to lose. More activities mean less presence in each one. More words mean less weight to any particular statement. More complexity means less clarity. The Taoist way is toward less, fewer things, fewer commitments, fewer words, and in that reduction, more space, more peace, more presence. This is not deprivation, it is liberation. When you own less, you are owned by less. When you do less, you can do each thing fully. When you speak less, your words carry more meaning. Simplicity is sophisticated. It is the result of deep discernment about what actually matters. The Taoists were not minimalists out of austerity. They were minimalists because they understood that stripping life down to its essence reveals the essence more clearly. And the essence, it turns out, is enough. More than enough. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. This famous saying is often quoted as motivation for starting big projects. But the deeper Taoist meaning is about presence, not about the destination, but about the step itself. You are not walking 1,000 miles. That is future and imagination. You are taking one step, right now, this step. And when this step is complete, there will be another step. And that is all there ever is. One step happening now. This teaching dissolves overwhelm. The journey ahead may seem impossible. The distance may feel crushing. But you do not have to walk the whole path right now. You just have to take the step in front of you, and you can do that. Anyone can take one step. The Taoist lives this way, not projecting into distant futures, not carrying the weight of miles not yet walked. Just here, just now, just this step. And somehow, without trying to reach anywhere, you arrive everywhere you need to go. Return to the root. Complexity is what happens when you move away from the source, when you add layers and elaborations and decorations. The Tao Te Ching counsels the opposite movement. Return. Go back. Find the root again. Strip away everything that has been added and return to what was there before all the additions. This is not regression. It is remembering. It is coming home to your original nature. Before conditioning, before learning to be complicated, before forgetting how to be simple. A tree's strength comes from its roots, not its branches. The branches are impressive, visible, reaching in many directions. But if the roots are weak, the tree falls. Return to the root means returning to what is foundational, to what is essential, to what was always true, before you built elaborate structures on top of it. In personal terms, this means rediscovering who you were before the world told you who to be, before roles and identities and expectations obscured your nature. The root is still there. You can return to it any time. The Tao is the mother of all things. In Taoist cosmology, the Tao is described with feminine imagery, not father, but mother, not creator in the sense of imposing form, but source in the sense of giving birth. The Tao is the womb from which everything emerges, the dark, generative emptiness that contains all potential. Before anything exists, there is the Tao, and everything that comes into being comes from this mysterious, fertile void. This shifts how you think about creation. It is not about force or will. It is about emergence, about allowing, about creating space for something to be born. The feminine principle in Taoism is about receptivity, nourishment, and gentle power. The mother does not force the child to grow. She provides conditions. She nourishes. she protects, and growth happens naturally. This is the Taoist model for all action, not dominating or controlling, but creating space and supporting what naturally wants to emerge. Know the masculine, keep to the feminine. Taoist philosophy recognizes both masculine and feminine energies, yang and yin. The masculine is active, assertive, outward, light. The feminine is receptive, yielding, inward, dark. Both are necessary. Both are valuable. But the Tao Te Ching advises, know the masculine, but keep to the feminine. Understand strength, but practice softness. Recognize the value of action, but return to receptivity. Be capable of assertion, but prefer yielding. This is not about gender. It is about qualities that exist in everyone. And the teaching is that in a world that overvalues the masculine, force, conquest, dominance, the wise person returns to the feminine. Because the feminine contains the masculine, but the masculine often rejects the feminine. Water contains strength, but strength does not always contain softness. The valley receives the mountain's runoff, but the mountain cannot receive. Keeping to the feminine means staying close to the source, to receptivity, to the power that nourishes rather than the power that dominates. The way is broad and easy, yet people prefer narrow paths. The Tao is not difficult. It is natural. It is the way things already work when nothing interferes. It is broad and spacious and easy to walk, yet most people ignore it. They choose narrow, difficult paths. They complicate what is simple. They struggle against what flows naturally. They prefer hard effort to effortless alignment. Why? Because the ego loves difficulty. It loves the feeling of striving. It loves being able to take credit for achievement through force of will. But the Taoist way is different. It is too simple for the ego to grasp, too easy for the mind to take seriously. It says, relax, trust, flow, yield. And the ego says, that cannot be right. Surely I need to try harder. Surely I need to figure this out. Surely I need to control. And so people walk right past the broad, easy way and choose the narrow, difficult path instead. Not because it is better, but because it feels more like something they are doing. The Tao asks you to stop doing so much, to return to the easy way, to trust what is natural. And that, paradoxically, is the hardest teaching to accept. Now, we move deeper into the heart of Taoist wisdom, where nothing is quite what it seems, where opposites create each other and extremes become their opposites. The Taoists loved paradox because life itself is paradoxical. Up needs down, light needs dark, sound needs silence. Everything arises in pairs, in balance, in dynamic tension. Understanding this changes how you see everything. Let your mind relax as we explore these mysteries. Do not try to solve the paradoxes. Simply rest in them. Yin and yang arise together. This is one of the most famous Taoist symbols, the circle divided into dark and light, each containing a seed of the other. Yin and yang are not enemies, they are partners. Darkness and light, cold and warm, soft and hard, feminine and masculine, passive and active. Neither can exist without the other. They define each other, create each other, dance together in endless exchange. When you see this, you stop trying to eliminate one side. You recognize that both are necessary. Balance is not choosing one over the other. Balance is honoring both. In darkness, there is light. Look closely at the yin-yang symbol. In the dark half, a white dot. In the light half, a black dot. This teaches that nothing is purely one thing. Even in the deepest darkness, light is present. Even in the brightest light, shadow exists. Winter contains the seed of spring. Defeat contains the seed of victory. Sorrow contains the seed of joy. Nothing stays purely itself. Everything is always already becoming its opposite. This is not a flaw in reality. This is how reality maintains balance, how life renews itself, how change happens. When one side reaches extreme, it becomes its opposite. Have you noticed this? The hottest part of summer tips into autumn. The darkest night gives way to dawn. The tightest held breath must release into exhale. The pendulum swings to its peak and reverses. This is natural law. Nothing can increase forever in one direction. Everything that rises must fall. Everything that falls can rise again. The Taoists did not fear this. They trusted it. They knew that difficulty contains the seeds of ease, that loss contains the potential for gain, that every ending is also a beginning. The straight appears crooked, great virtue seems inadequate, true fullness seems empty, the greatest skill seems clumsy. Things are not always as they appear. The person who seems to know everything may understand nothing. The person who admits they know nothing may be wise. The path that looks direct may actually be convoluted. The path that seems to wander may be most direct. Appearances deceive. The surface is not the depth. What looks good may be harmful. What looks harmful may be beneficial. The Taoists taught to look beneath the surface, to trust experience more than appearance. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is wisdom. You can study the world endlessly, learn facts, understand systems. This is intelligence, and it has value. But knowing yourself is something different. It is wisdom. Understanding your patterns, seeing your conditioning, recognizing your reactions. This self-knowledge is the foundation of everything, because you cannot change what you do not see. You cannot work with what you do not understand. The mirror of awareness turned inward reveals truths that no external study can teach. And from this self-knowledge, right action flows naturally. He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. This sounds harsh, but it points to something true. Real knowing is direct, immediate, beyond words, like knowing how to ride a bike. You cannot explain it. You just know. Those who truly understand the Tao do not need to talk about it constantly. They embody it, live it. Those who talk endlessly about the Tao may only understand it intellectually. Words can point toward truth, but they are not truth itself. Sometimes silence communicates more than speech. Sometimes not knowing is wiser than knowing. The more you know, the less you understand. This is another paradox. Accumulating information can actually obscure clarity. The mind becomes cluttered with facts, opinions, theories, frameworks. The simple becomes complex. The obvious becomes hidden. The Taoists taught that wisdom comes through subtraction, not addition, unlearning rather than learning, letting go of what you think you know, returning to beginner's mind. When you empty the cup of accumulated knowledge, you can see freshly, directly, the way a child sees before concepts cover their vision. Loss is gain. In Taoism, there is a practice called losing daily for the Tao. Each day, let go of something, a belief, a habit, a possession, an identity. The more you lose, the freer you become, the lighter you travel, the less you carry. What looked like loss reveals itself as gain. Losing the need to be right brings peace. Losing the need to control brings ease. Losing attachment to outcome brings freedom. What you release makes space for something new. Emptying creates room for filling. Dying makes way for rebirth. Bend, and you will be whole. Yield, and you will be preserved. Rigid things break under pressure. Flexible things adapt and survive. The tree that bends in the storm keeps its roots. The tree that refuses to bend gets torn up. This applies to everything. Rigid opinions break under new evidence. Flexible minds learn and grow. Rigid plans shatter when circumstances change. Flexible approaches find new paths. Bending is not weakness. It is wisdom. Yielding is not defeat. It is strategy. Sometimes the way to stay whole is to let yourself break a little, to adapt, to flow with what comes. Weak is strong. The infant is soft and weak, yet it is harder to hurt than the strong man. The strong man is hard and rigid. He breaks easily. The infant is flexible. It bends and bounces. The weak overcome the strong not through force, but through persistence, through adaptability, through yielding that eventually exhausts resistance. Water is weaker than stone, but it wears the stone away. The quiet voice is weaker than the shout, but it is often heard more clearly. Weakness, rightly understood, is a form of power, the power to bend without breaking, to yield without being defeated. Give up striving, and nothing will be beyond your reach. Here is a paradox that sounds impossible. How can giving up striving help you achieve? But the Taoists observed something profound. Striving creates tension. Tension blocks flow. Flow is where mastery lives. Think of learning to float in water. If you struggle, you sink. If you relax, you float effortlessly. The same applies to life. When you stop forcing, when you stop trying so hard, you often find that things happen more easily, not through magic, but through alignment with natural flow. Wu Wei in action, achieving without striving, arriving without traveling. The heavy is the root of the light. Grounding enables flight. You need weight in your foundation to have freedom in your movement. A tree with deep roots can grow tall branches. A building with a strong foundation can reach into the sky. The dancer needs to be grounded to leap. The bird needs gravity to define flying. This is about balance. about honoring both ends of the spectrum, not choosing lightness over heaviness or heaviness over lightness, but recognizing that they create each other, that stability allows for freedom, that grounding makes flight possible. Move slowly to go far. Haste makes waste. Rushing leads to mistakes. Impatience creates problems. The Taoists knew that sustainable pace matters more than speed. The tortoise beats the hare not because it is faster, but because it is steady. If you try to sprint a marathon, you collapse. If you pace yourself, you complete the distance. This applies to everything. Gradual practice leads to mastery. Consistent small steps lead to great journeys. Patience produces results that urgency cannot. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. The way to go far is to move carefully, sustainably, with respect for natural rhythms. Arrive without traveling. Where are you trying to get to? The Taoists would say you are already there. Home is not somewhere else. Peace is not in the future. Completion is not after one more achievement. You are always already arrived. The journey you think you are on is imaginary. This moment is the destination. This breath is arrival. When you realize this, the frantic searching stops. You can rest. Not because you gave up, but because you recognized that what you were seeking was never absent. You do not travel to the present. You are always in the present. You just forgot to notice. Act without doing. This is Wu Wei expressed differently. Action that arises spontaneously, without deliberation. Movement that happens naturally, without planning. When you are deeply aligned with the Tao, action flows through you without effort, like the breath breathing itself, like the heart beating on its own. You do not make it happen. It happens through you. This is not passivity. It is the highest form of action, unforced, natural, perfectly timed, responding to what is needed without overthinking. This is mastery, win without competing. The Taoists had no interest in competition. Competition creates enemies. It generates conflict. It measures one person against another. But there is another way. You can excel without needing to defeat others. You can succeed without requiring others to fail. You can win simply by being fully yourself, by developing your own potential, by following your own path. When you stop competing, you stop wasting energy on comparison. You focus on your work, your growth, your contribution. And paradoxically, this often leads to greater success than competition ever could. Yield and overcome. This is perhaps the most counterintuitive Taoist teaching. How can yielding lead to victory? But martial artists know this secret. When someone pushes, you yield. Their force goes past you. They become unbalanced. Your yielding defeats their attack. When someone pulls, you follow. They expect resistance. Meeting none, they stumble backward. Yielding is not surrender. It is strategic softness. It is using the opponent's energy against them. It is the wisdom of water flowing around stone. And it works not just in physical combat, but in all conflict. Sometimes the way to overcome is to stop resisting, to yield, to flow. The sage leads from behind. The best leaders are barely noticed. They do not stand in front demanding attention. They stand behind, supporting others. They empower rather than control. They guide without micromanaging. And when the work is done, the people say, "We did it ourselves." This is true leadership, not ego-driven, not about personal glory, about serving the whole, about helping others succeed. The sage does not need credit, does not need recognition. The work itself is reward enough. And paradoxically, this selfless approach often brings more respect than any amount of self-promotion. Empty yourself of everything, not gradually, not partially, completely. Empty your mind of opinions, your heart of desires, your identity of definitions. Empty yourself so completely that nothing remains. This sounds like annihilation, but it is actually liberation, because what is empty cannot be harmed. What is empty cannot be filled with poisons. What is empty is available for whatever wants to arise. This is radical openness, complete receptivity, the state of total availability, not passive, but alert, not vacant, but spacious, empty of everything, ready for anything. Embrace simplicity. The Taoists spoke of the uncarved block, pu in Chinese, wood before it has been shaped. The original nature before conditioning carved it into something specific. Return to this. Strip away the unnecessary. Release the complicated. What remains is simple, raw, authentic. Your original self before society told you who to be. This is not regression. It is remembering. It is coming home to what you were before you learned to be anything else. The uncarved block contains all possibilities. Once carved, it can only be one thing. Embrace your original simplicity. The you before you became someone. Reduce selfishness and decrease desire. This is not harsh self-denial. It is gentle moderation, noticing how selfishness creates separation, how excess desire creates suffering, not forcing yourself to want nothing, but simply observing the costs of constant wanting. Letting desire relax naturally. Letting selfishness soften on its own. As you do, you discover something surprising. You already have enough. You already are enough. The desperate grasping was never necessary. Freedom comes not from satisfying every desire, but from releasing the grip of desire itself. The soft and weak overcome the hard and strong. Water again, always water, because water teaches everything. It is the softest substance. It takes the shape of whatever contains it. It flows where gravity leads. Yet, given time, it carves through mountains. It reshapes continents. Nothing can resist it forever. The hard and strong may look impressive, but they are brittle. They shatter under enough pressure. The soft and weak look vulnerable, but they are resilient. They adapt. They persist. And persistence, not strength, determines the outcome. Time is on the side of the gentle. Patience belongs to the soft. What is firmly rooted cannot be pulled out. Deep roots anchor the tree. Shallow roots make it vulnerable to wind. This applies to practice, to habits, to understanding. What is deeply rooted in you cannot be shaken. Not by circumstance, not by challenge, not by doubt. The question is, what are you rooting yourself in? If you root in material success, you will be shaken by loss. If you root in others' opinions, you will be moved by criticism. But if you root in the Tao itself, in your true nature, in what does not change, then nothing can uproot you. You stand firm, not through rigidity, but through deep foundation. The highest good is like water. Water nourishes all things without discrimination. It does not choose to benefit only the beautiful or the deserving. It gives to everything equally. Flowers and weeds, mountains and valleys, humans and animals. And it seeks the lowest place, the place everyone else avoids. It is humble, unassuming, life-giving. The Taoists held water as the perfect example of how to live. Beneficial to all, competitive with none, seeking the low places, flowing around obstacles, soft yet powerful, clear yet deep. This is the highest good, not aggressive virtue, but natural kindness, not forced generosity, but effortless giving. Now we enter the heart of practical Taoist wisdom, the way these ancient teachings translate into daily life, not as rules or commandments, but as invitations to simplify, to strip away what is unnecessary, to return to what is essential. The Taoists observed that most suffering comes from complication, from layers of wanting and having and doing that obscure the simple truth of existence. As we explore these teachings, let your breathing slow even more. Let your body sink deeper into rest. There is nothing here you need to remember or achieve, just gentle wisdom washing over you like a warm stream. 3 treasures: compassion, frugality, humility. The ancient Taoists spoke of 3 treasures worth keeping close, like precious stones held warm in the palm. The first is compassion, a gentleness toward all living things that flows as naturally as morning light across water. It asks nothing in return and costs nothing to give. It sees the suffering in others and responds not with judgment, but with kindness. The second treasure is frugality, not as meanness, but as knowing when enough is truly enough. Like a cup filled exactly to the brim, there is completeness in simplicity, in having what you need and nothing more. The third is humility, the quiet understanding that you are one small part of something vast and mysterious, a single wave in an endless ocean, a blade of grass in an infinite meadow. These 3 treasures are not goals to achieve, but qualities to remember, waiting beneath the surface like smooth stones at the bottom of a clear stream. When you live with compassion, you soften. When you practice frugality, you lighten. When you embrace humility, you find your natural place in the order of things, and the struggle falls away like leaves from an autumn tree. These treasures cannot be stolen. They cannot be lost. They are yours simply by choosing them again and again in each moment. Be content with what you have. Contentment is a warm fire on a cold night, a fullness that requires nothing more to be complete. The Tao teaches that enough is a feast, that satisfaction lives not in acquiring, but in appreciating what already surrounds you. A simple meal becomes rich when eaten with gratitude. A modest home becomes a palace when filled with peace. The world whispers constantly that you need more, that happiness waits just beyond the next purchase, the next achievement, the next destination. But the Tao suggests otherwise. It points to the bird that sings without owning a single thing, to the flower that blooms without ambition. There is a difference between contentment and resignation, between acceptance and giving up. True contentment is active appreciation, a choice to see the abundance that already exists rather than the scarcity your mind invents. When you pause to notice the breath moving through you without effort, the ground supporting you without complaint, the sky vast above you asking nothing, a quiet wealth reveals itself. This inner richness cannot be taken away because it was never dependent on external circumstance. It simply is, like water reflecting whatever sky appears above it, complete in every moment. The contented person is not passive or unmotivated. They simply do not mistake the map for the territory, the symbol for the reality. They know that having more things does not create more happiness. It creates more things. Desire is the root of suffering. Wanting what is not here creates a painful distance between you and the present moment. The Tao observes this gently, without judgment, the way you might watch clouds gather before rain. Desire pulls you forward into an imagined future that is always just out of reach. You think, when I have that, then I will be happy. But that moment never quite arrives because new desires bloom like flowers in an endless spring, one after another after another. The Taoist wisdom is not to kill all desire, but to distinguish between natural needs and manufactured wants. Hunger is natural. Craving is learned. Thirst is honest. Endless accumulation is a kind of forgetting. When you return to simple needs, breathing, resting, nourishing, moving, connecting, life becomes remarkably uncomplicated. The ancient sages lived close to this simplicity, understanding that most suffering comes from wanting the river to flow uphill, from resisting what is and demanding what isn't. There is a deep restfulness in letting desire settle like silt in still water. What remains is clear and calm, a natural contentment that asks for nothing because it recognizes that everything necessary is already provided. The breath comes without asking. The heart beats without instruction. Life unfolds whether you grasp at it or not. The desperate grasping does not bring the object closer. It only exhausts the one who grasps. The sage has no ambitions. This does not mean the sage is lazy or aimless, drifting without purpose through empty days. Rather, the sage acts without the burden of personal agenda, without the anxious attachment to specific outcomes. Like water finding its way down a mountain, there is movement, yes, even purposeful movement, but it is not forced or desperate. The sage works, creates, contributes, but does not cling to the fruits of these actions. Imagine tending a garden without demanding that every seed sprout exactly when and how you wish. You plant, you water, you pull weeds when needed, but you do not stand over the soil commanding growth. You trust the seeds. You trust the soil. You trust the sun and rain to do what they do. This is action without ambition, engaged participation without grasping. The sage gives their best effort and releases the outcome. They do not need to be recognized or rewarded or remembered. The doing itself is enough. This creates enormous freedom. Without ambition, there is no fear of failure. Without attachment to results, there is no anxiety about the future. There is just this moment, this action, this opportunity to participate fully in what life is offering. And paradoxically, this lack of ambition often accomplishes more than frantic striving, because energy flows where it is not blocked by fear and grasping. The sage's work has a natural quality, like a tree growing or a river flowing, complete in itself without needing validation from outside. Know when to stop. The Tao Te Ching asks, when is enough enough? When have you eaten enough? When have you worked enough? When have you accumulated enough? There is a natural satiation point that your body and soul recognize, but the mind often ignores it. More, says the mind. More food, more work, more possessions, more achievement. But the Taoist wisdom points to natural limits. The stomach knows when it is full. The body knows when it is tired. There is wisdom in listening to these signals, in recognizing the point of sufficiency and stopping there. Not because you lack willpower to continue, but because you have wisdom to recognize completion. A cup filled to the brim is full. Pouring more only creates overflow and waste. A day's work completed is done. Continuing past natural energy depletion creates diminishing returns and eventual burnout. The sages knew when to stop. They could finish a meal before discomfort, end a day's work before exhaustion, enjoy success without needing more. This is not laziness. It is attunement to natural rhythms. It is respecting the limits that make sustainable living possible. In a culture that glorifies more, the Taoist teaching to stop at enough feels revolutionary. But it is simply natural. Every animal knows when enough is enough. Only humans forget. The more you know, the less you understand. Information accumulates, but wisdom deepens. These are not the same thing. You can fill your mind with facts and concepts and theories and still miss the essential truth. Knowledge is the map. Understanding is the territory. The map grows more detailed, more complex, more elaborate, but the territory remains simple and immediate. The Taoists valued beginner's mind, the capacity to see things freshly, without the filter of accumulated knowledge, because sometimes knowledge creates blindness. You think you understand something because you can name it, categorize it, explain it. But naming is not knowing. True understanding comes from direct experience, from presence, from the kind of attention that does not rush to label and categorize. A child who has never been taught the names of trees might see them more clearly than a botanist, whose mind immediately sorts every tree into species and genus. The Taoist sage actively unlearns, strips away layers of conceptual overlay to return to direct perception. This is not anti-intellectual. It is recognizing the limits of intellect. Information has its place. But if you want to understand the Tao, you must set down the burden of knowing and return to not knowing, to the spacious wondering that allows reality to reveal itself directly. Speak little, listen much. Words are useful, but silence is essential. The Tao Te Ching teaches that those who know do not speak, and those who speak do not know. This is paradoxical, since the Tao Te Ching itself is speaking. But the point is about the limits of language. The deepest truths cannot be captured in words. They can only be pointed toward, and sometimes silence points more accurately than speech. The sage speaks when necessary and is silent the rest of the time. They do not fill space with unnecessary chatter. They do not speak to hear their own voice or to assert their presence. They listen, they pay attention. They notice what is actually happening beneath the surface of words. Deep listening is a rare gift in a world of constant noise. When you truly listen, without planning your response, without judgment, without the need to fix or advise, you create space for truth to emerge. You hear what is actually being said and also what is being left unsaid. Silence is not empty. It is full of presence, of attention, of receptivity. The Taoist learns to be comfortable with quiet, to value the space between words as much as the words themselves, to recognize that often the most important things are communicated in silence. Govern a country like you cook a small fish. This is one of the most famous lines from the Tao Te Ching, and it carries profound wisdom. When you cook a small, delicate fish, you use a light touch. You do not flip it constantly. You do not poke and prod. You do not micromanage every moment of the cooking process. Too much handling breaks the fish apart. The skill is in minimal interference. Apply heat. Step back. Let the process unfold. Trust that with the right conditions and minimal intervention, the fish will cook perfectly. The Taoists applied this same principle to governance and to life. The best leadership is barely noticeable. The best government creates conditions for flourishing and then gets out of the way. The best parenting provides structure and support, but does not control. The best way to live is to trust the natural unfolding of things and intervene only when necessary, lightly, with the minimum force required. Over-controlling breaks what you are trying to help. Over-managing creates rigidity and resistance. The light touch, the minimal interference, the trust in natural processes. This is the Taoist way. Not doing nothing, but knowing when doing less is actually doing more. The best leader is barely known. When the master governs, people say, "We did it ourselves." This is the height of leadership according to the Tao Te Ching, not the charismatic hero who takes credit and demands recognition, not the visible authority who rules through force of personality, but the quiet presence who creates conditions for others to thrive and then disappears into the background. The people accomplish great things and do not even realize they were led. They believe the success came from their own efforts, and in a sense it did, because the leader empowered rather than controlled. This kind of leadership requires tremendous egolessness. It requires caring more about the outcome than about being recognized for the outcome. It requires trust in others' capabilities. Most leadership does the opposite. It makes itself central, visible, indispensable. It takes credit and assigns blame. But the Taoist leader serves invisibly, like the foundations of a building, essential but unseen, supporting but not dominating. When the work is done, the credit goes to everyone except the leader, and the leader is content with this, because the work being done well is reward enough. Do not interfere with natural unfolding. There is a famous story about a farmer who was worried his rice seedlings were not growing fast enough. So he went into the field and pulled each one up a little bit, trying to help them grow. By the next morning, all the seedlings were dead. This is what happens when you interfere with natural processes. You cannot force growth. You cannot hurry development. You can create conditions. You can remove obstacles. But the growing itself must happen at its own pace, according to its own rhythm. This applies to everything. Children develop at different rates. Projects mature in their own time. Healing happens gradually. Learning integrates slowly. You cannot pull up the seedlings. You cannot force the bud to bloom before its time. All you can do is tend carefully and trust the process. This teaching is hard for the modern mind, which wants results now, which demands efficiency and measurable progress. But nature does not work on your schedule. Seeds germinate when conditions are right. Fruit ripens when it is ready. Some things simply cannot be rushed. The Taoist learns to support without forcing, to encourage without demanding, to create space for natural development and then step back. Patient, trusting, allowing. Live close to nature. The more time you spend in natural settings, the more you remember how things actually work. Trees do not try to grow. Rivers do not try to flow. Birds do not rehearse their songs. Everything simply does what it does naturally, without self-consciousness or second-guessing. Nature is the ultimate teacher of Wu Wei, of effortless action, because nothing in nature forces. Everything follows its inherent pattern. The Taoists spent time in mountains, near streams, under trees, observing and learning. They noticed seasonal rhythms. They watched how water finds its path. They paid attention to the way ecosystems balance themselves without management. And they applied these lessons to human life. Living close to nature does not necessarily mean moving to the wilderness. It means paying attention to natural patterns wherever you are, noticing the phases of the moon, feeling the changing seasons, watching how your own energy rises and falls like tides, recognizing that you are not separate from nature, but part of it, subject to the same rhythms, governed by the same principles. When you remember this, you stop fighting natural limits. You stop demanding that your body perform like a machine. You honor cycles of activity and rest. You align yourself with the way things actually work rather than the way you think they should work. Be like a child. Lao Tzu wrote that the sage returns to the state of an infant. Soft bones, supple body, unself-conscious presence. A child has not yet learned to force. They have not yet been taught that effort requires strain. Watch a young child exploring the world. They are completely engaged, but they are not trying. They are not performing. They are simply here, interested, open, responsive. They laugh without restraint. They cry without shame. They move from one activity to the next, without carrying the weight of the past or worrying about the future. This is the natural state the Taoist seeks to return to. Not childish, but childlike. Before conditioning taught you to be someone. Before expectations created the burden of self-consciousness. Before you learned to divide the world into good and bad, success and failure, acceptable and shameful. The infant state is one of original wholeness, before the split, before the internal conflict, just present, just being. This does not mean regression or irresponsibility. It means recovering the natural spontaneity and lack of self-division that existed before the layers of social conditioning were added. The child is not trying to be natural. They simply are natural. And so are you, underneath everything you have learned. Eat when hungry, sleep when tired. This sounds almost too simple to be wisdom, but notice how rarely you actually do this. How often you eat when you are not hungry, out of habit or boredom or social obligation. How often you ignore tiredness and push through, believing rest is weakness or waste. The Taoist teaching is radical in its simplicity. Listen to your body. It knows what it needs. When hungry, eat. When tired, sleep. When full, stop. When rested, rise. These basic natural signals are constantly overridden by the mind's agenda. You eat according to the clock, not according to hunger. You work through exhaustion because there is more to do. You ignore the body's wisdom in favor of the mind's schedule. But the body is wiser than the mind about its own needs. It knows when it requires fuel, rest, movement, stillness. The Taoist lives close to these signals, not ruled by them in a reactive way, but listening to them, honoring them, working with them. This is part of aligning with the Tao, with the natural way. Your body is nature. Its rhythms are natural rhythms. When you override them constantly, you create imbalance. When you listen to them, you move with the flow of your own nature, and life becomes remarkably simple. Eat when hungry. Sleep when tired. The body already knows the way. The wise person keeps their center. Praise and blame are like weather. They come and go. The wind shifts. The temperature changes. But the mountain remains unmoved. The Taoist sage is like this, unmoved by external conditions. Not because they do not feel anything, but because they are not defined by what happens around them. They maintain an internal reference point, a stable center. When someone praises them, they do not inflate with pride. When someone blames them, they do not deflate with shame. They remain themselves, regardless of what the world says about them. This is enormous freedom. Most people are tossed around by opinion, by approval and disapproval, by the constantly changing winds of social judgment. They have no center, no stable ground. They are whoever the world tells them they are in any given moment. But the sage knows who they are, independent of external validation. They are grounded in something deeper than reputation. They are rooted in the Tao, in their own nature, in a truth that does not change when circumstances change. From this centered place, they can move freely without being thrown off balance. They can engage fully without being controlled by outcomes. They can participate in life without being at the mercy of every shift in the weather. Accumulating wealth accumulates worry. The more you have, the more you have to protect, maintain, worry about. Every possession is a small burden, a thing that can be lost, stolen, damaged, a thing that requires attention and energy. The Taoists notice that wealthy people are often not happier than simple people. Often, they are more anxious, more burdened, more trapped by their possessions. The mansion requires maintenance. The fortune requires management. The status requires defending. Somewhere along the way, the person begins to serve their wealth rather than their wealth serving them. This is why the Tao Te Ching praises frugality. Not poverty as deprivation, but simplicity as freedom. When you own less, you are owned by less. When you need less, you are vulnerable to less. When you accumulate less, you have less to lose. This is not anti-wealth. It is a clear-eyed observation about the cost of accumulation. Everything you gain creates responsibility. Everything you own creates attachment. The question is, what is truly worth the cost? What do you actually need? What brings genuine well-being versus temporary satisfaction or status? The freedom of living simply is that your security does not depend on fragile external things. Your contentment does not require constant maintenance. You travel light through life. The uncarved block. There is a Taoist concept called Pu, the uncarved block. It represents original nature before shaping, before conditioning, before the world carved you into a particular form. Imagine a block of wood. It has potential to become many things: a bowl, a statue, a chair. But once it is carved, its potential narrows. It becomes one thing and not others. You are like this. You were born as the uncarved block, full of potential, not yet shaped into a fixed identity. But over time, family, culture, education, experience carved you. They shaped you into a particular person with particular beliefs and particular limitations. The Taoist teaching is to return to the uncarved block, not by erasing all that you have become, but by recovering the original openness that existed before the carving, before you were told who you should be, before you decided who you were supposed to be. The uncarved block is authentic, unshaped by external demands, simple, raw, real. Returning to it means letting go of false identities, of roles that do not fit, of ways of being that were imposed rather than chosen. It means rediscovering what was there all along before the world got its hands on you. Useful uselessness. There is a famous story about a gnarled, twisted tree that was considered useless for lumber. Because it was useless, no one cut it down. It grew for hundreds of years, providing shade, shelter for birds, beauty for travelers. Its uselessness was its survival. This is the Taoist paradox of useful uselessness. In a world that demands everything have a purpose, have a function, have measurable value, there is deep wisdom in what appears useless. Play has no purpose, but is essential for joy. Rest produces nothing but is necessary for health. Beauty serves no function, but makes life worth living. Art, music, poetry, laughter, wonder, these things are useless in the strictly utilitarian sense. They do not increase productivity or efficiency, but they are what make us human. The Taoist sage values the useless, the moments that accomplish nothing, the activities that produce no result. Because life is not only about useful production, it is also about simply being. And being has no purpose beyond itself. You do not need to justify your existence through constant usefulness. You are allowed to be like the gnarled tree, beautiful and useless, and surviving precisely because you were not cut down for someone else's purpose. Walk without leaving tracks. The Taoist ideal is to move through life lightly, without making a big impression, without disturbing things unnecessarily. Walk without leaving deep footprints. Act without creating lasting disturbance. This is different from the modern obsession with legacy, with leaving your mark, with being remembered. The sage is content to pass through without demanding recognition. They do their work and move on. They help and disappear. They act effectively, but invisibly. like wind that moves through trees without trying to be noticed, like water that nourishes plants without demanding gratitude. This is ego-less action, humble presence, the understanding that you are a small part of a vast process, and your role is to participate, not to dominate. Walking without leaving tracks also means not being attached to outcomes. You do what is yours to do and release it. You do not cling to your achievements. You do not try to control what happens after you are gone. You offer your gift and trust that it will go where it needs to go. This creates lightness. When you are not trying to leave tracks, when you are not building monuments to yourself, you can move freely. Nothing weighs you down. You are simply here, participating, and then you are gone. And that is perfectly fine. The highest good is like water. Water benefits all things without competing. It flows to low places that people disdain. This is why it is nearest to the Tao. Everything the Taoists valued is present in water. Humility, it seeks the lowest place. Generosity, it nourishes everything without asking for thanks. Strength, it is soft but wears away stone. Adaptability, it takes the shape of whatever contains it. Clarity, when still, it becomes transparent. Essential but humble. Powerful but gentle. Necessary but self-effacing. This is the supreme virtue according to the Tao, not the loud, flashy excellence that demands attention, but the quiet, necessary goodness that simply serves. Water does not need applause. It does not require recognition. It flows where it is needed and nourishes what it touches, and that is enough. If you want to know how to live well, become like water. Yield to obstacles instead of crashing against them. Flow around resistance. Settle in humble places. Nourish whatever is near you. Be soft and patient and persistent. Eventually, you will carve canyons through mountains of difficulty, not through force, but through the gentle, endless persistence of flowing. Non-contention. The Tao Te Ching teaches that the sage does not contend, and therefore no one can contend with them. When you stop fighting, the fight ends. When you stop competing, you cannot lose. This is paradoxical. It sounds like giving up, but it is something different. Non-contention does not mean you do not have goals or values or boundaries. It means you do not make everything a battle. You do not turn every interaction into a competition. You do not need to win or be right or dominate. Water does not contend with the rocks in the stream. It flows around them, and in flowing around them it gradually wears them down. This is victory through non-contention. The soft overcomes the hard not by fighting, but by yielding. The weak outlasts the strong not through force, but through flexibility. When you give up the need to contend, to prove yourself, to win arguments and dominate others, you access a different kind of power. The power of cooperation, of going around instead of through, of achieving your aims without making enemies. This is the Taoist strategy. Victory through non-contention, peace through non-fighting, success through not trying to succeed at others' expense. Mastery appears clumsy. True skill looks effortless, which means it often looks like no skill at all. The master makes it look easy, makes it look like anyone could do it. There is no showing off, no unnecessary flourish. just simple, direct, effective action. This is Wu Wei in practice. Skill so integrated that it appears clumsy or artless to the untrained eye. Think of a master musician who plays with such ease that it seems simple, or a master chef whose movements in the kitchen appear casual, almost careless, but every action is perfectly efficient. Or a martial arts master who defeats opponents with minimal movement, while the flashy beginner exhausts themselves with elaborate techniques. Real mastery is invisible. It does not announce itself. It does not need to impress. It simply does what needs to be done in the simplest, most natural way possible. The Tao Te Ching says, "The greatest skill appears like clumsiness. The greatest eloquence seems like stammering." This is because true excellence is not about performance. It is about effectiveness, about doing what works rather than what looks impressive. The sage is content to appear ordinary, even clumsy, as long as the work gets done. They have no need to prove their mastery to anyone. The wise person is free from labels. People love categories. They want to sort you into boxes. Liberal or conservative, introvert or extrovert, successful or failure, good or bad. But the Taoist sage does not identify with any label. They are too fluid for categories, too whole to be divided into types. Labels are useful for organizing information, but they are terrible at capturing reality. You are not a category. You are a living process, constantly changing, containing multitudes, contradicting yourself from moment to moment. The Tao is beyond all names, and you, as an expression of the Tao, are also beyond the names people try to pin on you. Being free from labels means you are not bound by identity. You do not have to be consistent with who you were yesterday. You do not have to prove you are the kind of person you claim to be. You can simply respond authentically to each moment without worrying whether it fits your brand or identity. This is tremendous freedom. Most people are trapped by their own self-concepts. They cannot change because they have decided who they are, and change would contradict that identity. But the sage has no fixed identity. They are like water, taking whatever shape the moment requires. Free, fluid, unconditioned by the past. As we drift deeper into this gentle exploration, we enter the most mysterious layer of Taoist wisdom, the paradoxes that cannot be resolved by thinking, the truths that can only be experienced, never explained. Here, words begin to fail. Logic loosens its grip, and something deeper emerges, like stars appearing as daylight fades. Let your rational mind rest now. Let understanding happen without effort, the way a flower opens without trying to open. These teachings will wash over you like waves, each one carrying you further from the shore of certainty and deeper into the ocean of mystery. There is nothing to grasp here, only gentle floating in waters too deep to measure. The Tao is empty yet inexhaustible. Imagine a well that never runs dry. You draw from it endlessly, and it never empties. This is the paradox of the Tao. It is emptiness, void, no thing. Yet from this emptiness, everything emerges. All forms arise from formlessness. All sound comes from silence. All movement originates in stillness. The emptiness is not barren. It is fertile, generative, pregnant with infinite possibility. This is hard for the rational mind to grasp because we think of emptiness as lack, as absence, as nothing. But the Taoist emptiness is creative nothing. It is the space in which everything can appear, like the empty canvas that allows the painting to exist, like the silence that makes music possible. The Tao is this foundational emptiness that paradoxically contains everything. You cannot exhaust it because there is nothing there to exhaust. You cannot deplete it because it is not a thing that can be used up. It simply is. The source, the wellspring, empty and full at the same time. When you touch this paradox, even for a moment, something in you relaxes, because you realize that abundance does not come from accumulation. It comes from connecting to the source that is always full, because it is always empty. Knowing others is wisdom. Knowing self is enlightenment. You can study people for a lifetime, learn their patterns, their motivations, their histories, and this is valuable. This is wisdom, but it is external knowledge. Knowledge about the world outside yourself. The deeper journey is inward. To know yourself, not the image you project, not the story you tell about who you are, but the actual reality of your experience, your patterns, your reactions, your fears and desires, your true nature beneath all the conditioning. This is enlightenment according to the Tao, not some mystical state of cosmic consciousness, but simple, clear self-knowledge, seeing yourself accurately, without the filters of self-deception. Most people are strangers to themselves. They know more about celebrities than about their own minds, more about politics than about their own hearts. The inward turn feels risky because you might discover things you would rather not see. But only through honest self-knowing can you become free. Only by seeing clearly what you actually are can you stop pretending to be what you are not. The journey inward is the hero's journey of the Taoist, not conquering outer worlds but exploring inner territory. And in that exploration, enlightenment. Not as a destination but as clear, compassionate self-knowledge. Conquering others takes force. Conquering self takes strength. It is relatively easy to dominate someone weaker than you, to win an argument through superior rhetoric, to impose your will through position or power. This requires force, yes, but not real strength. Real strength is what it takes to master yourself, to remain calm when provoked, to stay gentle when anger rises, to choose patience when everything in you wants to react. Self-mastery is the supreme accomplishment in Taoist philosophy, not because the self needs to be beaten into submission, but because the untamed self creates suffering for itself and others. The reactive self, the defensive self, the grasping, fearing, desperate self that lashes out and clings and runs away. To conquer this does not mean to destroy it. It means to understand it so deeply that it no longer controls you, to see your own patterns so clearly that you have choice about whether to follow them. This is internal work, invisible work. No one gives you a medal for conquering yourself. No one even knows you are doing it. But it is the foundation of everything else. A person who has mastered themselves moves through the world differently, calm, centered, responsive rather than reactive. This is the strength the Taoists valued above all others, not the strength to force the world to comply. The strength to choose your response to the world, regardless of what it offers. The Tao cannot be grasped. Every attempt to capture the Tao in concepts, in definitions, in systematic understanding, fails. It slips through intellectual nets like water through fingers. This is not a flaw in your understanding. It is the nature of the Tao. It is too immediate for concepts, too simple for complexity to reach, too vast for the mind to encompass. The moment you think you have understood it, you are holding a concept about the Tao, not the Tao itself. The finger pointing at the moon is not the moon. The map is not the territory. Words about the Tao are not the Tao. This can be frustrating if you are trying to understand intellectually, but it is liberating if you allow yourself to let go of the need to understand. The Tao is not something you figure out. It is something you experience directly, without the mediation of thought. In the moment of breathing, without thinking about breathing. In the sensation of water on your skin without the label water. In the immediate isness of reality, before the mind divides it into categories. This is why the Taoists valued silence and stillness, not because they were anti-intellectual, but because they understood that some truths can only be known in the space before and beneath thinking. Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. This is the most paradoxical teaching, since it appears in a text that is speaking. But the point is not literal. The point is that words are inadequate for the deepest truths. Someone who has truly realized the Tao has nothing to say about it, because anything they say would reduce it, limit it, betray it. Words create the illusion of understanding when understanding is not possible. They freeze what flows. They divide what is whole. So the sage remains silent about the essential things, not because they are withholding secrets, but because secrets cannot be spoken. They must be discovered directly by each person. This teaching also points to a certain kind of humility. The more you genuinely understand, the less confident you are about explaining it. The more you see the complexity and mystery of reality, the quieter you become. It is the beginners who speak with certainty, the ones who have studied for years but not deeply. The true masters know they do not know, and that not knowing is profound wisdom, not ignorance. So they speak when necessary but sparingly, and mostly they listen. To the world, to the silence, to the Tao, speaking in ways that have nothing to do with words. The more laws, the more thieves. This is social commentary disguised as paradox. The Taoists observed that excessive regulation creates the very problems it tries to solve. When you create many laws, you create many lawbreakers. When you impose rigid controls, you create rebellion against those controls. Natural order is self-regulating. An ecosystem balances itself without laws. Water finds its level without rules. But when humans try to control everything, to regulate every behavior, to impose order from outside, they create disorder. People find ways around the rules. They cheat and steal and lie to evade the controls, not because they are inherently bad, but because over-control is stifling. It goes against natural human responsiveness. The Taoist ideal is minimal governance, creating basic conditions for well-being and then trusting people to find their way. This does not mean no structure or no guidelines. It means knowing the difference between necessary structure and controlling micromanagement. Trust creates trustworthiness. Control creates resentment and evasion. The society that governs lightly, that relies on natural self-regulation rather than imposed control, functions more smoothly. Because people are free to align with the Tao, with the natural way, rather than spending their energy resisting external force. Return is the movement of the Tao. Everything in nature moves in cycles. Day returns to night, returns to day. Summer returns to winter, returns to summer. The tide goes out and comes back in. Breath leaves and returns. You are born, live, die, and perhaps some essence returns to the source to begin again. Return is fundamental to how reality works. Not linear progress toward some distant goal, but circular movement. Coming back, completing the cycle. The Tao Te Ching says that returning is the movement of the Tao. Going far away means coming back. Expansion contains contraction. Growth contains decay. Nothing moves in one direction forever. Everything reaches a peak and returns. Understanding this changes how you relate to change. You stop expecting things to keep improving indefinitely. You stop demanding that good times last forever. You recognize that every phase contains the seeds of the next phase, that completion is followed by new beginning, that endings are also returns to the source. This is not pessimistic, it is realistic, and it brings peace because you can trust the cycle. Trust that what has left will return. Trust that what seems lost will come back in new form. Trust that you are always in the process of returning, spiraling back to the source, completing a movement that began before you were born and will continue after you die. The nameless is the origin of heaven and earth. Before anything was named, before there were categories and distinctions and labels, there was nameless reality. Undivided, whole, the Tao. From this nameless source, all names emerge. Heaven and earth. Light and dark. You and other. Every division, every distinction, every separate thing arises from the original unity that had no name, because there was nothing separate to name it. This is Taoist cosmology. The one becomes two. The two becomes many. But beneath all the multiplicity, there is still the original nameless unity. When you name something, you create separation. You divide the seamless whole into this and that. Names are useful for navigating the world, but they are not reality itself. They are overlays, conceptual grids placed on something that existed before and beneath all grids. The nameless is not mysterious in the sense of hidden or obscure. It is mysterious in the sense of prior to and beyond all naming. To touch the nameless is to experience reality before the mind divides it, before language creates the illusion of separation. In that pre-linguistic, pre-conceptual space, there is profound unity, peace, the sense of belonging to something that was never broken into pieces. You can return to this, not by erasing all names and concepts, but by recognizing that they are tools, not truth. That beneath every name, there is the nameless, patiently waiting. Being and non-being create each other. You cannot have one without the other. Being requires non-being as its background. Form requires emptiness to have shape. Sound requires silence to be heard. Everything that exists depends on the space around it. The walls of a room define the room, but the usefulness is in the empty space, not the walls. The hub of a wheel is empty, but that emptiness makes the wheel functional. Being and non-being are not opposites fighting for dominance. They are partners, mutual arising. Neither can exist without the other. This is fundamental to Taoist understanding of reality. Everything you see exists because of what you do not see. The visible depends on the invisible. The manifest depends on the unmanifest. Your existence emerges from and returns to non-existence. This is not nihilism. It is recognition of how things actually work. You are not just a being. You are the interplay of being and non-being, presence and absence, form and emptiness. When you understand this, death becomes less frightening because you see that being and non-being are phases of one process. You emerged from non-being into being. You will return from being to non-being, and something else will emerge. The process continues. Nothing is lost because it was never separate from the whole to begin with. Difficult and easy complete each other. Nothing is inherently difficult or easy. These are relative judgments. What is difficult for you might be easy for someone else. What is easy today might have been difficult yesterday. Difficult and easy define each other through contrast. Without the experience of difficulty, you would have no concept of ease. Without knowing ease, you would not recognize difficulty. They create each other. This teaching points to the constructed nature of experience. Your mind labels situations as difficult or easy based on past experience, present capacity, and future expectation. But the situation itself is neutral. It simply is what it is. When you realize this, you gain flexibility. You stop fighting difficulty quite so hard because you see that it is not an absolute state. It is relative, temporary, defined by your relationship to it, not by inherent properties. You also stop clinging to ease because you know it will give way to difficulty eventually. The dance between them is constant. Sometimes you are in the difficult phase, sometimes in the easy phase, but you are never stuck permanently in either one. This teaching cultivates equanimity, not indifference, but evenness of mind, meeting both difficulty and ease with the same steady presence, knowing that each contains the other and both will pass. The Tao gives birth to one. One gives birth to two. Two gives birth to three. Three gives birth to 10,000 things. This is the Taoist creation story. But it is not about a creator God. It is about the natural unfolding from unity to multiplicity. The Tao is the undifferentiated source. From this, one emerges, existence itself, being. From one comes two, the fundamental polarity of yin and yang, darkness and light, receptive and active. From two comes three. The dynamic interaction between yin and yang creates a third element, movement, change, the interplay. And from three comes everything. All the manifestations, all the forms. The 10,000 things, which is Chinese idiom for everything that exists. This is not meant as literal physics. It is a poetic description of how the simple gives rise to the complex, how unity contains diversity, how the one becomes many without ever ceasing to be one. Everything you see is an expression of the Tao, including you. You are one of the 10,000 things that emerged from the 3 that came from the 2 that arose from the 1 that was born from the Tao. You are not separate from this process. You are the process, happening right now, in this moment, breathing, being, one of the 10,000 things, and also the Tao itself, looking at itself through your eyes. Heavy is the root of light. Lightness and freedom depend on a solid foundation. A building can reach toward the sky only if its foundation is deep and heavy. A tree can lift its branches high only if its roots are anchored deep. This is the paradox of grounding and flight. You cannot have one without the other. In personal terms, this means that your ability to move freely through life depends on being grounded in something stable. Values, self-knowledge, practice, relationships. The people who seem most light and spontaneous are often the ones with the deepest roots, the strongest foundations, the heaviest anchoring in what matters. They are not flighty. They are grounded enough to fly. Without the heavy root, lightness becomes untethered drifting, aimlessness, disconnection. But with the heavy root, lightness becomes grace, freedom, spontaneity that is supported by depth rather than superficiality. The Taoist sage cultivates the root, goes deep, establishes a foundation in the Tao, in natural living, in self-knowing. And from that depth, a lightness emerges, not forced or performed, but natural. The lightness of being grounded enough to let go. Stillness is the master of motion. At the center of every wheel is a still point. The hub does not move, yet the wheel turns around it. At the eye of every storm is calm. At the center of every movement is stillness. This is not just physics, it is philosophy. The Taoist understanding is that activity emerges from and returns to stillness. Rest is not the absence of action. It is the source of action, the master of action. Without returning to stillness, motion becomes chaotic, reactive, exhausting. But when action comes from a still center, it is graceful, efficient, effective. Think of a martial artist moving from a centered, still place. Every action is precise because it comes from stillness, not from frantic effort. Or a dancer who moves beautifully because they are grounded in a still core. The movement does not disturb the stillness, it expresses it. In your life, this teaching invites you to find your still center, not by stopping all activity, but by discovering the quiet place inside from which activity can emerge without disturbing your peace. When you move from stillness, even vigorous action does not exhaust you, because you never left the center. You simply extended from it, and you can always return. To straighten, first bend. This is the paradoxical wisdom of indirect approach. Sometimes the direct path does not work. Sometimes trying to force something straight only makes it more crooked. But if you first go in the opposite direction, if you bend before straightening, you create conditions for natural correction. This is how you start a fire. First, you gather carefully. Then, you blow gently. You do not force flame into being. You create conditions and allow ignition to happen naturally. This is how you help someone change. First, you meet them where they are. Then you walk with them. You do not demand transformation. You create space and allow growth to unfold. This is how you solve complex problems. First, you step back. Then you look from different angles. You do not attack directly. You circle. You yield. You approach from unexpected directions. The Taoist strategy is often counterintuitive. It goes around instead of through. It yields before advancing. It bends before straightening, because force creates resistance. But gentle, indirect approach often succeeds where direct force fails. Sometimes you have to go backward to go forward, down before up, lose before winning. This is not giving up. This is strategic wisdom, knowing when the indirect path is actually the most direct. To fill, first empty. If your cup is already full, nothing more can be poured in. If your schedule is completely packed, there is no room for opportunity. If your mind is cluttered with old beliefs, there is no space for new understanding. Before you can receive, you must let go. Before you can be filled, you must empty. This is basic spiritual physics. You cannot add to what is already overflowing. You must first make space. This means letting go, releasing what no longer serves, clearing out the accumulation. Whether physical possessions, or mental concepts, or emotional baggage, you must periodically empty to make room for what wants to come next. Death before rebirth. Silence before speech. Winter before spring. The emptying is not loss. It is preparation. It is creating capacity for what is coming. The Taoist does not cling to fullness. They understand that fullness must give way to emptiness, and emptiness to fullness in a natural rhythm. Sometimes it is time to fill. Sometimes it is time to empty. Right now, as you listen to this, let yourself empty. Release thoughts. Let go of the day. Make space. Trust that the emptying is not deprivation. It is creating room for rest to enter, for peace to fill you. But first, empty. The farther you go, the less you know. This is a warning about seeking wisdom in distant places. The tendency to think that truth is somewhere else, somewhere exotic, somewhere far from where you are. So you travel, you study, you accumulate experiences and knowledge, and somehow, the more you seek, the less you feel you truly know, because knowing is not found in accumulation. It is found in depth, in going deeper into where you already are, rather than farther into new territory. The Taoists observed that people walk past the Tao every day without seeing it because they are looking elsewhere. Looking up when the Tao is down. Looking far when it is near. Looking complex when it is simple. The farther you go from yourself, from your immediate experience, from the present moment, the less you actually know. Because knowledge that matters is not information about distant things. It is direct perception of what is right here. The truth is not hidden in Tibet or accessible only through years of study. It is present in breathing, in walking, in washing dishes, in this moment. The journey to find wisdom often takes you far away, but the discovery of wisdom brings you back. Back to here, back to now, back to the simplicity you left behind when you went searching. Without going outside, know the world. This is the principle of microcosm reflecting macrocosm. The small contains the pattern of the large. The part contains the whole. You do not need to visit every country to understand human nature. You do not need to study every tradition to grasp universal truth. You can know the world by deeply knowing yourself, because you are the world, made of the same substance, subject to the same laws, containing the same patterns. The Tao that operates in galaxies operates in your body. The principles that govern ecosystems govern your psyche. There is nothing out there that is not also in here. This is radical simplification. It means you do not need to endlessly seek external knowledge. You can turn inward. Study your own mind. Observe your own reactions. Notice your own patterns. And in that deep internal investigation, you will discover universal principles, not as abstract concepts, but as lived reality. The ancient Taoists spent time in nature, yes, but mostly they spent time in stillness, looking inward, watching the Tao operate through their own being. And from that internal observation, they understood everything they needed to understand. The journey is inward. The knowledge is inward. The world is inward. Without going outside, know the world. Pursuing knowledge, add daily. Pursuing Tao, subtract daily. This captures the essential difference between accumulating information and deepening wisdom. When you pursue knowledge, you add. More facts, more concepts, more data, more complexity. The mind fills with information. This is valuable in its domain, but pursuing the Tao is the opposite movement. You subtract. Let go of concepts. Release fixed beliefs. Simplify less and less until you arrive at Wu Wei, effortless action, non-forcing, natural response, the beginner's mind that knows nothing and therefore sees clearly. This is the Taoist path, not adding layer upon layer of spiritual knowledge, but stripping away, unlearning, returning to original simplicity, every day a little less, every day shedding something that seemed important but was actually just mental clutter, every day closer to the uncarved block. The person who knows nothing about the Tao but lives naturally is closer to the Tao than the scholar who has memorized texts but still forces and strives, because the Tao is not found in knowing about. It is found in being, and being requires less, not more. Subtract daily. Let go daily. Simplify daily, until there is almost nothing left. And in that nearly nothing, everything. The Tao is hidden but always present. You cannot see the Tao, you cannot point to it. It is invisible, hidden. Yet it is more present than anything else, more real than the objects you can touch, because the Tao is what allows objects to exist. It is the invisible foundation, the background, the space in which everything appears, like the screen on which a movie plays. You do not notice the screen because you are watching the movie, but without the screen, there would be no movie. The Tao is like this, completely present, utterly essential, totally overlooked. You are looking for it when you are looking with it, like the eye that cannot see itself, like water asking, "What is water?" The Tao is so close, so immediate, that you miss it by looking. It is the looking. It is the presence before thought divides experience into looker and looked at. When you stop searching for something special or distant or hidden, and simply notice what is most obvious, most immediate, most present, you find the Tao. Not as an object you discover, but as the ground you have always been standing on, hidden in plain sight, always present, always here, waiting for you to stop looking and simply be. When purpose is gone, nature returns. Purpose is a human invention, a projection of intention onto reality. Nature does not have purposes. Trees do not grow for a reason. Rivers do not flow toward a goal. Birds do not sing to achieve something. They simply do what they do. And in that purposeless activity, there is beauty, freedom, natural spontaneity. When you let go of purpose, when you stop asking, "Why am I doing this?" and "What will this achieve?" something shifts. Action becomes lighter, more immediate, more playful. You do things because they are what you do, not because they will get you somewhere. This is Wu Wei, effortless action, action without agenda. And paradoxically, when you stop trying to achieve things, you often accomplish more, because you are not wasting energy on anxiety about outcomes. You are fully present in the doing. Purpose is exhausting. It puts the value in some future result rather than in present experience. But when purpose is released, when you simply participate in life without demanding that it leads somewhere, nature returns. Your natural way of being, uncalculated, unself-conscious, free. The wise person does not hoard. In economic terms, hoarding seems rational. Saving, accumulating, protecting your resources. But the Tao teaches something different. The wise person gives freely and becomes richer, helps generously and becomes stronger. The more you hoard, the less you have, because your life energy is tied up in guarding and maintaining and worrying about what you have accumulated. But the more you give, the more you participate in the great flow of exchange that is life. And paradoxically, you end up with more, not materially necessarily, but experientially, emotionally, spiritually. Generosity creates abundance, not because of some mystical law of attraction, but because generosity is living proof that you trust the flow, that you know there is enough, that you are connected to the source that never runs dry. When you hoard, you are living from scarcity, from fear. But when you give, you are living from abundance, from trust. And that shift in consciousness changes everything. The Taoist sage does not accumulate wealth or possessions or even knowledge. They participate in the flow, receiving and giving, breathing in and breathing out, trusting that the Tao provides, and it does. Yield and overcome, bend and be straight, empty and be full. This is the Taoist strategy condensed into 3 paradoxes. Yield to overcome. When you resist force, you are broken. When you yield to force, you survive and eventually prevail. Water yields to every obstacle and ends up carving canyons. Bend to be straight. The rigid breaks. The flexible endures and returns to its original form. Empty to be full. Only by letting go can you receive. Only by creating space can you be filled. These are not clever word games. They are observations of how nature actually works. And when you align your life with these principles, you discover they work for you too. Yielding is not weakness, it is strategy. Bending is not failure, it is survival. Emptying is not loss, it is preparation for receiving. The world operates through soft power, not hard force, through flexibility, not rigidity, through receptivity, not grasping. When you learn to yield, to bend, to empty, you gain access to the gentle, unstoppable power that shaped rivers and moved mountains, not through fighting, through flowing. Breathe. This is the first teaching and the last teaching, the simplest and most complete. Just breathe. You do not need to control it or perfect it or make it special. Just notice that you are breathing. Air flows in without effort. Air flows out without trying. Your body knows exactly what to do. It has been breathing since the moment you were born, and it will continue until the moment this life ends. You do not make the breath happen. The Tao breathes through you. Life breathes itself. In this moment, can you feel it? The gentle rise and fall, the soft rhythm that requires nothing from you? This is Wu Wei. This is effortless action. You are not breathing. Breathing is happening. And in that happening, in that simple, constant, reliable flow, there is everything you need to know about the Tao. Everything moves like breath, in and out, expansion and contraction, receiving and releasing. The whole universe breathes, and you are part of that breathing, not separate, not struggling, just flowing, in, out, in, out. So simple, so complete. Breathe. Be still like a mountain. Imagine a mountain, ancient, solid, unmovable. Weather changes around it. Storms come and go. Seasons pass. But the mountain remains. It does not react to the wind. It does not complain about the snow. It simply is. Still, present, grounded. You have a mountain inside you, a place that does not move when life moves, a center that remains calm when everything else is chaos. This is not about forcing stillness. It is about finding the stillness that is already there. Beneath your thoughts, there is stillness. Beneath your emotions, there is peace. Beneath all the movement of your life, there is a quiet presence that has never been disturbed. The mountain. Let yourself rest there now. Feel the weight of your body, the solid ground beneath you, the unmoving awareness that watches without effort. You do not have to create stillness. You only have to stop creating movement. Stop churning, stop stirring, and the water settles by itself. The mountain appears, still, strong, at peace, here, always here. Flow like a river. Now become the opposite, not still, but flowing. A river moves constantly, yet it is also at peace. It does not fight its movement. It does not resist its flow. It simply goes, following the path of least resistance, curving around obstacles, falling when the ground drops, rising when it meets a dam, always moving, yet never struggling. This is the Taoist paradox. Be still like a mountain and flow like a river. both at once. Still center, flowing surface, grounded presence, constant change. Your life is a river. Experiences flow through you. Thoughts come and go like water. Emotions rise and fall like currents. Do not try to stop the river. Do not try to hold the water. Let it flow. Let everything flow. The joy and the sorrow. The gain and the loss. The hellos and goodbyes. Let it all flow through you without grasping any of it. This is freedom, not controlling the river, not damming it up or redirecting it, just being the riverbed through which life flows, effortless, natural, always moving, never stuck. The river finds the ocean eventually. You do not have to figure out how, just flow, empty like the sky. Look up at the sky in your mind, vast, open, spacious. Clouds pass through, but they do not stain it. Birds fly through, but they leave no trace. Rain falls from it, but it does not empty. The sky holds everything and is attached to nothing. Your mind is like the sky. Thoughts are like clouds. They appear, they move, they dissolve. But the sky remains clear, open, unchanged by what passes through it. You are not your thoughts. You are the space in which thoughts appear. This is profound freedom. When you identify with the clouds, you suffer. You think you are this thought or that emotion, but you are the sky, vast, spacious, able to hold everything without being disturbed by anything. Let your mind become sky-like now, open, empty. Not empty as in nothing there, but empty as in room for everything, spacious, allowing. Whatever arises, let it arise. Whatever passes, let it pass. You are the unchanging awareness, the empty sky, forever open, forever free. Nothing can stain you, nothing can stick to you. You are already clear, soft like water. Water has no edges, no hardness, no resistance. You can put your hand through it, your fist through it. It yields completely. Yet water carved the Grand Canyon. Soft overcomes hard through patience and persistence. Can you become soft like this? Not weak, not passive, but yielding, not fighting. When someone pushes against you, can you flow around them instead of pushing back? When life presents an obstacle, can you find the path around instead of the path through? Softness is not surrender. It is strategy. It is the recognition that rigid things break and soft things endure. Let your body soften now. Release the tension in your jaw. Soften your shoulders. Let your belly be soft. Let your heart be soft. Not defended, not armored, just open, vulnerable, yielding. This takes courage, more courage than hardness. But softness is where your power lives, not the power to dominate, the power to endure, to adapt, to flow like water, soft, gentle, unstoppable, simple like a stone. A stone is just a stone. It does not try to be something else. It does not have ambitions or anxieties. It does not worry about its purpose or its future. It simply exists, heavy, solid, complete. There is wisdom in this simplicity. in being what you are without apology or complication. You have spent so much energy trying to be more, to be different, to be better. What if you could just be, like a stone, simple, uncomplicated, not striving to become anything other than what you already are? The stone does not compare itself to other stones. It does not wish it were smoother or larger or more beautiful. It simply is. And in that simple being, there is perfection. You are already complete. Not because you have achieved everything, but because completeness is not about accumulation. It is about being fully what you are in this moment. Simple, present, whole. Like a stone resting in a stream, going nowhere, needing nothing, just being. Simple, complete, here. Silent like snow falling. Snow falls in silence. No sound, no announcement, just gentle descent. Flake after flake, covering everything softly. This is how peace comes. Not with dramatic arrival, not with thunder and lightning, but silently, gradually. One moment of letting go after another, one breath after another, one soft landing after another, until everything is covered in quiet. Let silence fall inside you now, not the silence of effort, not forcing yourself to be quiet, but the natural silence that emerges when you stop creating noise, stop the mental chatter, stop the inner argument. Stop the endless planning and reviewing and worrying. Just let it all stop. And in the stopping, silence falls, like snow, gentle, soft, covering everything. Covering the noise of the day, covering the worries, covering the restlessness. Everything becomes quiet. Everything becomes still. The world disappears under a blanket of silence, and you rest there, peaceful, quiet, held by the silence the way the earth is held by fallen snow. Patient like a tree. Trees do not hurry. They grow at their own pace. A tree does not panic if it has not produced fruit by a certain age. It does not compare itself to other trees. It does not worry whether it is successful or behind schedule. It simply grows, day by day, season by season, year by year, roots going deeper, branches reaching farther, without rush, without anxiety, just the patient unfolding of its nature. You are like this tree. You do not need to hurry. You do not need to force your growth or panic about your progress. You are unfolding exactly as you should, at your own pace, in your own time. Trust the process. Trust the seasons of your life. Sometimes growth is visible. Sometimes it happens underground where no one can see. Sometimes it is spring and everything blooms. Sometimes it is winter and you rest. All of it is necessary. All of it is part of the cycle. Be patient with yourself. Patient like a tree. Growing in your own time. Trusting that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Return to the source. Where did you come from? Not your parents or your birthplace, but deeper. The source before you were you. The mystery before form. The Tao. You emerged from that source. You have been traveling away from it all your life, exploring, experiencing, learning. But now it is time to return, not by dying, but by remembering, by recognizing that you never actually left. The source is still here. You are still connected. The Tao that you came from is the Tao that breathes through you now. Return does not mean going backward. It means recognizing where you are. You are already at the source. You have always been at the source. There is nowhere to go because you are already home. This whole journey has been the Tao exploring itself through you. And now, in this moment, there is just the return, the recognition, the coming home to what was never left. Rest here, in the source, in the beginning that has no beginning, in the place before you became someone, before you had a story, before there was a you to worry about. Just the source, just the Tao, just this. Rest in the Tao. You are held, not by hands, but by something deeper. The same force that holds planets in orbit. The same intelligence that grows trees and heals wounds. You are held by the Tao, by the natural order of things, by the web of existence that connects everything. You do not have to hold yourself together. You do not have to make everything work. You do not have to control the universe. You can rest, let go, let the Tao hold you. Trust that you are supported, that you belong, that you are part of something vast and good and completely reliable. The Tao has never let anything fall out of existence. Everything is held. Everything is included. Even you, especially you, are held in the great pattern. So rest. Rest your striving. Rest your worry. Rest your need to figure everything out. Let the Tao carry you the way water carries a leaf. Effortlessly, naturally. You are safe here. You can let go. You can rest. Rest in the Tao. Rest in the natural flow of things. Rest in the arms of the universe that has always held you and will never let you fall. The way is here. You have been seeking, searching for something, wisdom, peace, meaning, awakening. And perhaps you thought it was somewhere else, somewhere distant, somewhere you had not arrived yet. But the way is here, right here, in this moment, in this breath, in this simple act of existing. The Tao is not far away. It is not hidden in ancient texts or exotic places. It is here, in the ordinary, in the immediate, in the obvious that you have been overlooking because you thought the truth had to be more complicated. But it is not. It is here, closer than your breath, more intimate than your heartbeat. The way is not something you find by going somewhere. It is what you discover by being here, fully, completely, without wanting to be anywhere else. Stop seeking. Stop searching. The way is here. It has always been here. You have been walking it your whole life without realizing it. Now realize it. Now see it. The way is here. You are on it. You have always been on it. There is nowhere else to be. You are the Tao. This is the final recognition. You are not separate from the Tao. You are not a person trying to align with some distant principle. You are the Tao itself, taking form, becoming aware of itself, looking at itself through your eyes, breathing through your lungs, living through your life. There is no separation. There never was. The Tao is not something other than you. It is what you are made of, what you emerge from, what you express in every moment. You are not in the universe. You are the universe, a temporary localization of the infinite, a brief expression of the eternal. And in recognizing this, everything changes. Or rather, nothing changes except your understanding. You were always the Tao. You just forgot. You just believed the story that you were a separate self, isolated and alone. But you are not alone. You are everything. You are the source and the expression, the dancer and the dance. You are the Tao, and the Tao is you, complete, whole, undivided. Here, now, this, nothing to do. There is nothing you need to do, nothing to achieve, nothing to become, nothing to prove. You do not need to improve yourself, or fix yourself, or make yourself more spiritual, or more successful, or more anything. You are already complete, already enough, already exactly what you need to be in this moment. The striving can stop. The effort can cease. The endless self-improvement project can end. Not because you have given up, but because you have seen through the illusion that you were ever lacking in the first place. There is nothing to do. Life will live itself through you. Breath will breathe. Thoughts will think. Actions will happen. And you do not have to make any of it occur. You can simply rest. Rest in being. Rest in the natural flow. Rest in the recognition that the Tao is already doing everything that needs to be done. Your role is not to do. It is to allow, to witness, to participate without forcing. Nothing to do, nothing to achieve, nothing to become. Just this, just now, just being. Perfect, complete, effortless, rest. All is well, even when it does not feel well, even when there is pain or struggle or uncertainty. Beneath everything, all is well. The Tao is unfolding exactly as it should. The universe is doing what it does. Change is happening. Life is moving. And all of it is part of the natural order. You can trust this. Trust that even difficulties serve the larger pattern. Trust that even loss creates space for something new. Trust that the Tao does not make mistakes, does not leave anything out, does not forget anyone. All is well, not because everything is pleasant, but because everything belongs. Everything is included in the great flowing of the way. Your pain belongs. Your joy belongs. Your confusion and your clarity both belong. All of it is part of the whole. And the whole is well, is good, is exactly as it should be. So you can relax. You can let go of the need to fix everything. You can trust the process. Trust the Tao. Trust that all is well, even now, even here, even in this uncertain, imperfect, beautiful moment. All is well. Rest in that. Rest in the deep knowing that you are held by something that has never failed, that you are part of a pattern that is always, always unfolding toward balance. All is well. All is well. Sleep now. All is well. And so, our gentle journey through Taoist wisdom comes to rest. We began with water, with the art of yielding. with the profound power of not forcing. We moved through yin and yang, the dance of opposites that creates everything. We explored simplicity, stripping away what is unnecessary to reveal what is essential. We ventured into mystery and paradox, those truths too deep for logic to hold. And we returned, as everything returns, to simplicity, to breathing, to being, to the recognition that you are the Tao, and the Tao is you. The Tao is called the pathless path because there is nowhere to go. You cannot walk toward it because you are already it. You cannot find it because you are never lost from it. Every step you take is on the way. Every breath you breathe is the Tao, breathing itself. The journey we took together tonight was not to arrive somewhere new, but to recognize where you have always been. Here, now, home. What makes Taoist wisdom so restful is its essential message. Stop trying so hard. Stop forcing. Stop pushing against the current. Life knows how to live itself. Water knows how to flow. Your heart knows how to beat. Your breath knows how to move. You do not have to manage everything. You do not have to control the universe. You can relax. You can yield. You can let the natural intelligence that grows trees and orbits planets move through you as well, effortlessly, naturally, like water finding its way to the sea. Remember water. Always return to water. Soft, yet capable of wearing away mountains. Humble, yet essential for all life. Yielding, yet unstoppable. This is the Taoist way. Not fighting, not forcing, just flowing. Following the path of least resistance. Seeking the low places. Nourishing everything without demanding recognition. Be like water. In your work, in your relationships, in your very way of being. Gentle, persistent, flowing. But here is the secret that completes everything. You do not need to remember any of this. You do not need to carry these teachings with you. They were never meant to be accumulated like knowledge. They were meant to dissolve like mist in morning sun. Let them go. Let every word fade. Let every concept release. Because the Tao is not in the words. It was never in the words. The words were just fingers pointing at what you already are, what you have always been. And now you can forget the fingers. Forget the pointing. Just be the moon. You already know how to live in harmony with the Tao. You did it before you were taught to do otherwise, before you learned to complicate things, before you were told you needed to try harder, push more, force your way through. Beneath all that conditioning, your original nature remains, simple, natural, flowing. You do not need teachings to return to it. You only need to stop doing what takes you away from it. Stop forcing, stop resisting, stop complicating, and what remains is the way, your way. The Tao. If you found peace in this gentle journey, if these quiet words helped you settle into rest, you're welcome to like this video, subscribe to Sleepy Wisdom, or leave a thought in the comments below. It helps others who are seeking the same gentle wisdom find their way here too. And if you are still awake, there's another peaceful journey waiting for you in the next video on your screen. But there's no need to stay awake, no need to keep going. You can simply let yourself drift now. Let all the wisdom dissolve like morning mist when the sun rises. It served its purpose. It pointed you home. But now you are home, and you do not need the map anymore. Let the teachings go. Let the words fade. Let everything we explored together return to the silence from which it came. There is nothing to remember, nothing to carry forward, no homework, no practices to maintain. Just the simple invitation to be natural, to flow, to yield, to return to the effortless way you were always meant to live. Your body knows how to sleep. It has done this thousands of times. You do not need to try. You do not need to force yourself to relax. Just allow. Just yield. Let your body become heavy, sinking into the surface beneath you like a stone settling into soft mud. Let your breathing slow to its own rhythm. Let your mind empty like a cup being tipped over, all thoughts spilling out, leaving nothing but spacious silence. Everything is already happening. The letting go, the softening, the gradual descent into sleep. You are held. Held by the bed beneath you. Held by the darkness around you. Held by the great Tao that holds everything in existence. You are safe. You are supported. You can completely let go. There is nothing you need to protect, nothing you need to control. The universe is managing itself perfectly well without your help. Your only task now is to drift, to float, to allow yourself to be carried into sleep like a leaf carried downstream. No effort, no resistance, just gentle floating into rest. The Tao flows through everything, including through you, including through this moment, carrying you softly into sleep. You do not need to help it along. You do not need to try to sleep. Sleep will come the way night comes after day, naturally, inevitably, already arriving. You can feel it, can't you? The softness, the heaviness, the gentle pull into darkness. Let yourself go. Release everything, every thought, every concern, every plan for tomorrow. Let it all float away like clouds dissolving into empty sky. Flow into rest now. Flow like water into sleep. Soft, natural, effortless. The Tao is breathing you. The Tao is sleeping you. You are safe in the great flowing, safe in the eternal return, safe in the way that has no beginning and no end. Sleep well and good night.